In this position, Kasparov played the best move, which is knight f5. He's attacking this dark squared bishop and he's taking the space with his knight. We're already in a critical part of the game. Kramnik played something unexpected. He completely sacrificed this bishop and he played f takes on e5. And the idea is to take this pawn on d6 and create 3 passed pawns. Welcome back, guys. This was just a preview of the game you're going to watch right now. This game was played between Vladimir Kramnik, who was playing with white, and Garry Kasparov, who was playing with black pieces. This game was played in 1994 in a Russian championship tournament. Both Vladimir Kramnik and Garry Kasparov are chess legends and former world chess champions, so we will go straight into the game. The game started with knight f3 for Kramnik and knight f6 for Kasparov, c4 and g6 for Kasparov, knight c3, and bishop g7, e4 was played for Kramnik, and Kasparov replied with d6. The game continued with d4, so this is King Indian's defense, Petrosian variation, and black castled in this position. Bishop e2 was played for Kramnik, and e5 was played for black. These were all book moves, nothing special about this position. The game continued with d5. Kramnik decided to block the position and he pushes his pawn forward. So the game continued with knight b on d7, and now white played bishop e3, developing his last piece. The game continued with knight g4. Right now the idea for Garry Kasparov is to take this dark squared bishop. Of course, white doesn't want to give it and he plays bishop g5. The game continued with f6. Of course, now the queen was attacked and Kasparov decided to block this threat with his pawn. The game continued with bishop h4 and black continued with h5. The idea is to protect this knight, and of course, if the white is careless, you can capture this bishop with g5 and then h4. So that is the reason why white replied with knight d2. Right now this knight is attacked and black replied with knight h6. So Kasparov wants to save this knight for later in the game. That is the reason behind this move. And Kramnik now played f3. You want to remove this bishop and put it to safe place if he is attacked by black pawn. So the game continued with knight f7. Black wants to reorganize his pieces. White plays queen c2. And now black played bishop h6. So the idea behind knight f7 was to put this bishop that wasn't doing much on g7 square on h6, and right now this diagonal is looking really good for black. The game continued with castle queenside for white, and black decided to strike in the center as well. He played c5. He wants to block the position, and right now white decided to take this with en passant move. B takes on c6 and king goes on b1. Always a good idea to remove yourself from the pin. The game continued with a5 for black, and white replied with knight a4, moving the knight to a better place. And black played c5. Black wants to block the position and slowly but surely start a counter attack on b file. The game continued with knight c3, because right now this knight can move on this square and it is much better there. So black replied with bishop e3, simply taking the space which is allowed, and now the idea is to put this bishop on d4, very strong square. The game continued with knight d5 for white, which was the original idea, and black played bishop d4, his idea as well, to put this bishop here. The game continued with knight b3 for white. White now wants to remove this bishop and put this knight maybe on even better square. That is why game continued with bishop b7. Black as well wants to remove this knight from this outpost. This is a good move by black. The game continued with knight takes on d4 and c takes on d4, and right now Kramnik decided to strike in the center and he played f4. Game continued with rook to b8, the original idea taking the b file and slowly preparing an attack on white king. So white played rook h to f1 in this position just to protect this pawn and putting the rook on the open f file. Black played knight h6 with the idea to put the knight on g4 and also prepare f5 as well. And right now Kramnik played c5. The idea is that if black decides to take on c5, then you continue with f takes on e5, and then after bishop takes on d5, e takes on d5, and knight takes on e5, and the position is a little bit better for white. Of course, this wasn't played in the game and Kasparov didn't want to play this line, so that is the reason why after c5 game continued with bishop takes on d5 and e takes on d5 was played. And Kasparov played a really good move, which is knight f5. Right now he's attacking this bishop and he's taking this outpost on f5. The game continued with an amazing move from Kramnik. He decided to sacrifice his bishop and he played f takes on e5 as you saw from the intro. The game continued with knight takes on h4 and e takes on d6. The idea for Kramnik was to sacrifice his bishop for these three strong passed pawns. The game continued with knight e5, a good move by Kasparov, taking the space and blocking the e file. Game continued with rook takes on d4 since this pawn was undefended. In this position Kasparov found the best move, which is knight f5. With knight f5 you're attacking this rook and white now has to be careful. If he removes it back, for example on d1, then there is a knight e3 fork, so you're putting white in an awkward position. Also the idea is to take this pawn on d6 and then after c takes on d6 you will take with your queen and you will try and play for the draw. Of course, Kramnik saw all of that and he decided to sacrifice his other piece as well. He now sacrifices the rook. Rook takes on f5. Right now Kasparov is forced to take this and he plays g takes on f5 and Kramnik retakes this pawn with queen takes on f5. Kasparov now plays king g7 because you want to protect this f6 pawn. Game continued with bishop takes on h5. Kramnik captures another pawn and Kasparov decided to defend with rook h8. This was not a good move by Kasparov. The best line was to, instead going on h8 by computer, rook b4 was the drawing move and after that you can play for the draw. Of course this wasn't played and it's not always easy to find the right moves. So after bishop h5 Kasparov played rook h8 and the game continues with another amazing sacrifice, which is rook g4 check. Kasparov is forced to return on f8 field and I will show you why. So for example after rook g4, if black decided to take this rook, then the game would continue with queen g6 check. King f8 was the only left square and queen f7 was checkmate. So that is the reason after rook g4 Kasparov played king f8 and the game continued with queen e6, right now putting even more pressure and tightening the ropes around black king. After queen e6 the only move that worked for black was rook b7 and Kasparov played it because again if you decide after queen e6 to take this, then there is a checkmate here on f7 and after queen e6 if you decide to take this bishop with rook takes on h5, then we have a rook g8 checkmate. So situation is really bad for Kasparov and rook b7 was the only move and he played it. That is the reason game continued with c6 right now, advancing his pawns, and in this position Kasparov thought that he is practically lost and the only way he can try and save this game was to counterattack, and that is the reason he played rook takes on b2. King takes this rook and game continued with queen b6 check, king a3, queen c5 check, king a4, queen c2 check, king b5, queen b2 check, king a6, queen e2 check, king b7, rook h7 check, and d7 was played for Kramnik, after which Kasparov resigned, because there is really nothing black can do and save this game. Firstly, we have a checkmate threat on e8 here, so this is the first threat. We have a promotion threat here. The only way that black can try and draw this game was to give some perpetual check, but this doesn't work as well. You will see right now, queen b5 check, king c7, rook takes on d7 check, c takes on d7, queen c5 check, king b7, queen b5 check, king a8, and right now you don't have any more checks to give and this game is lost. Again, checkmate threat here, promotion threat here. You can only give your queen, but that's pretty much it. That's all you can do, and that is the reason why Kasparov resigned this game. We will go a little bit back to show you just what would happen after c6. Instead rook taking on b2, maybe black could have tried and defended the position with rook b goes on h7. Then the game would continue with c7, pushing this queen away. The black would now be forced to take this pawn. Rook takes on c8, d takes on c8, and after queen takes on c7, of course, is not a good move because we have a queen e8 checkmate. And after d takes on c7, if you play something like queen d7 trying to offer a trade, then white would continue with c8 promotion of a queen check, queen takes on c8, and queen d6 is a checkmate. So this was all for today's game, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a comment and like the video, as this will help with the YouTube algorithm and it will help this video get recommended to more people. Also, if you like my channel and you like my content, please consider subscribing. This means a lot to me as well. Thank you once more for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Bye bye.